But if they go for anything like Dragon Rush, if they go for Command Grab, if they go for Overhead, or if they just stagger a little too wide on their frame trap, this is going to catch all of it. This is super obnoxious. It just catches everything. Ever since Jiren was released over like a year and a half ago, the Dragon Ball FighterZ community has pretty much entirely agreed that he's lacking. You know, I don't want to just be one of those people that says Jiren sucks, but there's definitely been a lot of things about the character that seem a little bit lacking. His mix-up being an excellent example of that, especially since his command grab has always been one of the slower command grabs in the game. He's just seemed a little bit lackluster compared to a lot of other characters, and although he's gotten some pretty good quality of life buffs in the past, he hasn't really gotten anything until now that's really stood out to me as being like really good. And now it seems that he has a little bit more of an identity, in my opinion, due to this new patch. So I want to go through all of these changes that he has. Like a lot of other characters in the 3.5 patch for DBFZ, Jiren got a lot of buffs, rightfully so. And we're going to go through a lot of those buffs. We're going to see what they do, how they impact the game, where they're applicable in actual matches. And then I'm going to leave it to you guys to let me know what you guys think about the character now. I don't want to tell you outright that he's amazing or that he's awful still, but after looking at everything he can do, let me know what you guys think about the character in the current patch. And just a quick disclaimer, this is not a full Jiren guide, but I will be covering as much stuff about him as I can pack in here while I'm going through all these buffs. I want to give you guys context for why these changes actually matter. So first of all, his crouching light attack got buffed. It is a little bit faster. And yes, this is his crouching light. It's not a low, but look how far this goes. And look at this attack startup on this. 8 frames, and if you're a little farther away, you might be able to get it to hit on a later frame, so it might be like 9-ish, if we can get it to hit really far away, like right there. The really good thing about this move, and it's been this way since he came out, is this is actually a medium starter. So we have a really far, really fast, medium starter that also can cancel into other lights too. So this means you can start with this. If you don't get the hit, you can go for Dragon Rush. This move's only -2, by the way, which is really good. Or you can stagger with his 5L, which is -3. So his stagger pressure is really good. And if he does hit you while staggering, you're going to take a lot of damage because, like I said, this is a medium starter. I'm not super knowledgeable about Jiren's optimal combo routes, but this seems pretty good damage from a 8-frame medium starter that also transitions into his full pressure string at that point. Most of the time, if you're playing a character and you were to hit a medium attack in your block string, you can't go back and hit a light as well. So you can't go back in time to a light attack and then Dragon Rush. But with Jiren, after his 2L, you do have that option. And of course, you could also cancel into Command Grab or something. The more options you pile in the same situation, the better those options are going to be. So most of the time, you're going to want to frame trap after your 5L there. But once in a while, mix up between Dragon Rush or his Command Grab. Or of course, you could go for Cross Up. Or if they're doing a good job of reacting to your cross-up, you could stay same side with a Ki Blast or Super Dash. For context, an 8-frame medium is just really, really good. And I know it's a crouch light, but treat it like a medium that also just has really good cancel options. So this move got buffed. I know people would prefer to have an actual crouch light as a low, but I have to say that what this does is still pretty good. All right, so the next attack he got that got a buff is the one most people wanted, is his standing heavy. This move is faster than it was before. I think it's 2 frames faster than it was before. I believe it was 28 frames startup before. I think in the past it was 28 frames startup. Now it's down to 26. It's still definitely reactable. It's a little harder than it was before by, 2 frames. So if someone was barely reacting to it before, they're going to get hit by it now. It's still going to be important that you mix up when you do this command grab. Put it at a point where you have many other options. Because Jiren's command grab, although it is a little bit faster, and actually this is faster than Master Roshi's. This command grab has been hitting people like for 2 weeks straight. Very, very rarely does someone react to Roshi's command grab for me. And this is actually 2 frames slower than Jiren's. The difference is that Master Roshi's is harder to see. The visual cue isn't as obvious, and it also kind of just looks like his auto combo a little bit, right? With him just shaking his hands around. In Jiren's case, he doesn't really have a move that looks similar to his 5H that you can really make it more ambiguous with. So again, you're gonna have to be more deliberate with where you put this in your pressure. This again is a standing H, it's not a normal heavy. So he doesn't have the option of hitting it in H and getting that wall bounce combo like most characters can. So also keep that in mind when you are going to convert your hits, right? You can't just combo into H. You are going to have to jump cancel and use like a key blast or something, or combo into his, you know, crouch H for a side switch, or his crouch key blast to go same side. So anyway, the best place to put this in pressure is when you're going to have a bunch of other options available. So anytime you're plus from maybe a jump in attack or from using an assist in your pressure is a good time to do it. Because at that point you would also have Dragon Rush available, you would also have frame traps available, you would also have air dash available, and 6M overhead, and all these things, right? So the more options you have for them to look for besides the command grab, the more likely the command grab is going to hit. And since he does actually get a full combo from this in the corner, this is actually pretty good if you can hit with it compared to a lot of other characters. For example, this does do significantly more than Master Roshi's while being technically faster, even though it's a little easier to see. And also as a comparison, Gogeta has a pretty similar speed on his command grab, but he needs a Vanish or a Spark in order to convert it. Also, before we move on from the command grab, one more thing I want to mention about it is that a really good thing to do with it is to pair it with an assist to distract them so the command grab is a lot harder to react to. People already do this kind of thing with Dragon Rush all the time. If someone's really good at reacting to your Dragon Rush, you can call an assist, and before the assist comes out, you grab them with the Dragon Rush. And the same kind of idea is going to work with this 5H command grab, and this sort of thing is honestly really, really good. So do this once in a while. I guarantee you're going to hit people with it. Do be warned that if the opponent mashes, you're going to get happy birthday. So this sort of thing, you know, people aren't going to mash on reaction to this. This is the sort of thing you do against someone who's shown that they've done a really good job of reacting to it in the past. And considering that that is the weakness that Jiren's 5H has, his stand heavy has, that it is reactable, that everyone keeps citing, this is a pretty good thing to keep in mind. On to one of the changes that I think is actually really exciting and makes an actual really big impact in pretty much every match you're going to play with him. His Ki Blast is now invincible to other Ki Blasts. It will deflect other Ki Blasts. So let's set Goku here to just spam some Ki Blasts, and you'll see what I mean. It just goes right through it. And you can see he's like deflecting them, like he has a reflect going on, and then his just flies through it and smacks them all. Because his Ki Blast is one level higher than most other Ki Blasts, he's actually just going to outright beat the other ones if they were both going to interact. And another cool thing you can do with this is you can actually reflect Ki Blast and then cancel the reflect into his Ki Blast to punish the rest of them. This sort of thing is a little tough though, because if you don't cancel into Jiren's Ki Blast immediately after you reflect the other character, then you're actually going to get hit, because if there's a constant stream of Ki Blasts and you aren't immediately canceling into the thing that is safe to Ki Blast, you're going to get hit. Also, I don't believe it is frame 1 invincible to other Ki Blasts. So once in a while, when you go to reflect and cancel into Ki Blast, let's see if we can get it to happen. You will get, we're actually getting it to work pretty consistently though. Yeah, once in a while you'll get unlucky and you'll get hit on startup. It doesn't happen too often, but once in a while it does happen. This sort of thing is going to help him out in like a ton of matchups. I don't know if it's realistic to react consistently to the other player tossing out Ki Blasts, but the fact that you can do this after reflecting Ki Blasts is really, really nice. And as I'm sure most people already know, this is a true block string into Vanish, so you can actually get your turn started this way, especially if you have your own assist. After a Vanish, it's not the most perfect situation on offense, even though you are at an advantage. What you could do is you could call your assist and then Vanish. So if you want to be a little bit more at an advantage, you could do something like that. Or even if you just have a beam assist, you could just hit it at the same time as the Ki Blast, and now you're plus 20 or plus 21, and you could run up and maybe hit like a 2M to challenge them or something. And if you did happen to get the hit, I'm sure you could convert it. It's really nice that he always gets a sliding knockdown now with his jump crouch heavy. That change isn't actually from the most recent patch, but it is a relatively recent change, and it is really, really nice to have. Also, a small quality of life buff he got. His jump medium is slightly bigger than it was before, so it should be a little bit more consistent when you go for cross-ups and if you're trying to air the opponent. Just a small quality of life buff, but definitely nice to have. All right, another small quality of life buff is Infinity Rush, which is his quarter circle forward L, M, or H. These have a little bit less recovery on whiff than they used to. I don't think this move was used too often in neutral before, so it wasn't whiffing that often, but as with all things, there is a time and a place, so, you know, if you were using this in neutral very much, it's a little safer than it was before, but it still does have a lot of recovery, and I think it's going to be easier for the opponent to punish this with, like, a beam or something. Because there is a chance if they try to like whiff punish you that they're just going to get hit by it, right? Because it is pretty active. Also, the heavy version did get a little bit faster, and it is pretty huge, so... so not bad. Alright, on to one of the more interesting buffs he got. This is actually really exciting to me, and I'll explain why this is a big deal. His Shock Tornado, this is counter, his quarter circle back L, M, and H. Although, honestly, this really only applies to the L and the H version, light and the heavy versions, because the medium version really only works against lows, as far as I can tell. So, the Shock Tornado will now be invincible to projectiles while it's going on. So, the EX version and the light version are just not going to care about projectiles. And it's also going to apply to assists, too. And he can even deflect physical assists, too. So, he's just impervious to assists while he's doing this. And this is a really, really big deal for this move because in the past, it didn't deflect assists. What you could do if you wanted to ignore his ability to counter you on wake up, you would just meaty him with an assist and then get your turn started. And now that's no longer a problem. But you notice how it doesn't catch when it hits the assist. It's invincible to the assist, but it doesn't catch and actually toss the opponent when it makes contact with the assist. This is either a really good thing or a really bad thing, depending on how you look at it. I think it's more of a good thing. So it'll toss the opponent if the opponent makes contact with you, but he doesn't toss assists, or he doesn't toss the opponent if it hits an assist nearby. Okay, so we have a recording here showing what someone in the past could have done to get around Jiren's EX counter on the wake up. They would call an assist, and then as the assist is meeting Jiren, then they'd get their turn started afterwards. And as long as the assist made contact even like a frame before they did, Jiren could no longer counter them. So now what happens, Jiren just doesn't care about the assist at all, but he still catches the other person when they make contact with him. And because this does a really solid chunk of damage, if you convert with a Vanish or a Spark, you could really make them feel it, right? So now on Wake Up, he actually has a pretty similar situation to Ultra Instinct Goku, where it's just if you make contact with him at all, and he goes for the counter, you just get hit and you take all the damage. One thing to keep in mind, as with any other character, if you happen to hit the opponent with this, it is going to be entirely blue damage. So, you know, they are going to be able to get that back if they spark. This applies to pretty much every reversal in the game. So this isn't a Jiren nerf or anything like that. It's always going to be this way with reversals. And you might be thinking maybe it'd be better if he had a regular Dragon Punch reversal like Teen Gohan or Vegeta or any of those characters. But here's the thing, you can safe jump a normal reversal. So they can't Dragon Punch you, but if they block, you still get your turn. And yeah, if I were to block, you know, same recording on both instances, it blocks the Dragon Punch, but gets his turn started if I block. But against counters, you can't really do that, because as long as you make contact with the counter, you get hit. And this is what's so strong about counter-based reversals, and it's really nice that Jiren no longer cares about the assists, so you can't, like, still safe jump him anymore. You're gonna always have to call this out. Either by completely stopping what you're doing or by calling it out with like a Dragon Rush or something like that. And it's only half a bar too, so the Season 3 change really benefits him too. You do actually have to use the EX version if you're going to use this as a reversal, because the other versions are not frame 1 invincible. I haven't been able to get it to work on the safe jump. Yeah, it's not frame 1 invincible on the other versions, but the EX version, only half a bar now. So he definitely benefits from the half-off sale on EX moves in Season 3. But this isn't the only counter that Jiren has, and it's certainly not the only one that got a buff. So let's talk about the other one. Also pretty exciting if you're a Jiren player, his counter impact, which is this one. It's quarter circle back Ki Blast. This is the one that you would in the past use to call out projectiles. So if the opponent were to use like a beam or something, you could use this and get a punish. This move has always had some pretty big weaknesses, and if you're a Jiren player, you definitely know what those are. We'll talk about them in a bit. Those have changed slightly too, although they're still there. The big buff to this move is that it also catches physical attacks now. In the past, it would only work on projectiles. Now it works on physical attacks too. So it doesn't matter what this catches, Jiren is going to attempt to teleport to the opponent and punish them. Now this follow-up, this punish, is unblockable, but you can escape it, which brings us to the second change that he got. And the second change he got is listed as adjusted the hit stop when stopped an attack. Now if you don't know what hit stop is, it's basically like when the game freezes when you hit the opponent, right? You notice it kind of like stutters for a few frames every time you punch the opponent, and it kind of adds a weight to every hit with every character. Now, the hit stop is smaller now with him than before, which means the opponent has less time to react to the counter going off. This matters because you can actually vanish to save yourself if this particular counter catches any of your attacks. Now, this was possible before, but it was so easy to do before. It was ridiculously easy to do before. You had all the time in the world. Reacting to him countering one of your attacks feels super difficult now. It is not easy to do consistently, and unless you fight against Jiren all the time, it's going to be really hard to do. So if you aren't like autopiloting the vanish, it's difficult to even really beat this. You totally can react, but it is really hard. That's all I'm getting at here. And in a 2020 world where all we have is online, imagine how difficult it's going to be to actually pull this off in a match. By the way, Jiren doesn't really take that much damage if the opponent does vanish to save themselves. You know, 850 damage, no big deal. And the opponent's also spending a bar to do that. So all they're really getting out of it is a tiny consolation prize, and they're getting out of a bad situation. However, if the opponent is in a position to cancel into like an invincible move, they could level 3 you or, you know, use a dragon punch or something. But that's not always possible with like ki blasts and stuff, because we're already whiffing more ki blasts as he's coming in, which means the only thing we can cancel into is vanish. And again, I kind of messed it up there. There we go. So between the two changes that this counter got, this is actually super obnoxious now. It'll catch literally anything that makes contact with it, and I mean anything. And we'll talk about that in a second. And it's very hard to actually save yourself compared to before when it did catch. So this move is super obnoxious. This is legitimately something that makes me not want to fight this character, because regardless of whether you think he's a great character or a terrible character, it's just obnoxious to deal with. So Jiren players, use this, try to use it well, try to be creative with when you use this. You're gonna want to be reacting to things with it, because the window to actually catch something is pretty small. So like if I just like, yeah, like you can see how small that window is. So you do have to be a little bit careful with this, but in general, it's obnoxious. Okay, so I mentioned that this move catches everything now, and I really mean it. What about Dragon Rush? It catches Dragon Rush. What about command grabs? It catches command grabs. It can catch literally anything. Keep in mind that this isn't frame 1 catching things. The actual trigger for the counter doesn't happen on frame 1, so keep that in mind. A really tight frame trap will explode you if you're just mashing this on defense. But if they go for anything like Dragon Rush, if they go for command grab, if they go for overhead, or if they just stagger a little too wide on their frame trap, this is going to catch all of it. So this is just, again, this is super obnoxious. And keep in mind that some of these things, they can't save themselves with a vanish if it catches a Dragon Rush, for example. They can't save themselves with a vanish if it catches an overhead. It just catches everything. I don't think it's going to catch a super. But other than that, it'll get, like, literally everything again. Invincible reversal, check. Alright, so this is arguably the biggest change that he got, but we're not done yet. He still has more to go through. They also fixed some minor bugs with his counters where, like, he'd be facing the wrong direction once in a while. I can't show that because they fixed it, so I'm not going to bother. But just trust me that, you know, they're a little less buggy than they were before. Also, his Grand Charge got a pretty noticeable buff. And let's talk about that real quick. So his grand charge is quarter circle forward, ki blast. This move was super short before. It was so frustrating how short this move went before. It felt like it went like half of this distance before. So this buff is like really nice. Just the distance traveled is so much better than before. Also, it's only -2 on block, which is really nice. So if you do happen to like force your way in and they happen to block it, like if you don't have an assist to convert, you're at least safe, and you could cheese them out with a counter afterwards if they know it's their turn. But what's good about this move is it actually goes through projectiles, and it did that before, right? That's nothing new, but it goes so far and it seems so consistent at like actually traveling through all of these ki blasts. And actually, look at this, look at this. If we go through all of them and we don't actually end up punishing Goku, look at the frame advantage here. Let's see if we can get this to not hit Goku. Look at the frame advantage here if we happen to go through all of them and we don't hit Goku. We are +9. Remember how fast his crouch light is? 8 frames. We can just punish Goku. This isn't going to happen literally every time. But man, if the first time you do that to someone and they're like, wait, you didn't reach me, I should have been safe, and you actually just explode them, you're gonna blow their minds. Especially with how good of a starter this crouch light is. So anyway, don't expect it to punish ki blasts when you go through them but don't reach them. Most of the time you are actually going to reach them if you do this in a mid-range. But if you don't think that you're the one at a disadvantage. You're probably at an advantage as the Jiren player here. So now, he has a ton of different ways of going through projectiles. Obviously, he can use this, as we were just talking about. His ki blast goes through projectiles and just cleanly beats them. You can also do stuff like reflect ki blasts and then cancel into this charge while the ki blasts are still going on, just like with the ki blast. And you could, do stuff like call an assist behind it. If you're too far away to reach them, it's like you are protecting the assist, and now you can run in and take your turn. It's like you're protecting the assist, and then the assist is going to protect you afterwards. I think you're going to be able to be pretty creative with these changes. Heck, I really feel like reflecting projectiles and then canceling into different options is just going to be such a good thing to do. Like, look at this. Like, we could do that. Obviously, we had reflect into ki blast from before. This stuff is really cool. All right, and that's Jiren in this version. There's actually one more small change. He has a change to his C assist, which now has invincibility to ki blast as well. So this character just does not care about projectiles anymore, whether he's on the screen or whether he's in the back. So maybe the C assist is worth using. I don't know what assist people are using the most, probably his A assist, because his A assist has a ton of block stun. 43 frames of block stun, that is mad good, and it's super easy to combo with. And in general, his A assist just has so much hit stun, it's so easy to use at the end of like long combos that you can pretty much always end in Dragon Rush no matter what character you're playing. So it's just really convenient to have, and the block stun's really high, so if your character wants a high block stun assist, you're probably sticking with the A assist. But the B assist, not too bad either. It's relatively quick, 20 frame startup. 29 frames of block stun, and on hit, it feels like it just leaves them there forever for you to pick them up. Besides all the really weird stuff with his counters, I do think Jiren's actually a pretty simple character, so if you're ever interested in picking him up, I actually think you should just try him out for a few days. His combos, at least like his regular ones, are pretty easy to do. At least, the ones that I know. I don't know what's optimal. I'm sure there's like much crazier stuff than that, but on a basic level, I don't think he's that hard of a character to understand and easy to play. Just remember, he doesn't have a normal 5H, it's this one, so you're gonna accidentally be throwing this out the first few days you play him. Because we're all trying to frame chop into our 5H, our standing heavy, right? And then we pick up this character, we go to do that, and we get a grab on accident. Maybe you get a hit on accident, but realistically, usually you're gonna be like, ah crap, I can't combo with that, right? Before I leave you guys, first, I just want to really quickly mention for anyone who's also interested in picking him up from this, his anti-air, he actually has 2 of them, and it's important to understand when you want to use one or the other. This is super basic stuff, so if you're, if you're a longtime Jiren player, this is absolutely nothing new. But his crouch ki blast is actually the anti-air that is going to keep you going same side. And his crouch heavy is actually the one that side switches. So he's really good at picking what side he wants to go. For example, if I got a hit mashing out of the corner, I could combo into his 2H, and I could go back the other way. but let's say you want to actually keep them going this way and you combo into 2H, you know, you're gonna accidentally pop them out the corner. So just keep in mind when you're doing stuff like anti-ing a super dash that you do get to choose which direction you want to go, whether you want to stay the same direction you were facing or go the other way. I'm not trying to turn this into a full Jiren guide, but I hope I gave you guys enough to comfortably pick up the character and fight against the character a little bit better now, and hopefully got you guys excited about the changes. So I want to know, now that we've actually gone through each of his big changes in the 3.5 patch, I want to know what you guys think about the character now. Does he interest you a little more than he did before? Do you think this character is scary to fight against now? And do you think that none of that matters? Maybe you still think his mix-up is too weak, where it doesn't matter what his defensive options are like. It doesn't matter what his neutral options are like. If he can't open me up, I'm not scared. I think considering that we're stuck in 2020 and we're all stuck online, I do think this character is actually pretty good. But honestly, online is all we have right now. And I think this grab is better online than it is offline. So, you know, maybe that helps compensate for his mix up a little bit. Let me know what you guys think. I really want to know what you guys think about this character, because he's a very talked about character as being arguably one of the worst in the game. You would always hear about him and Videl being way down there, maybe along with Goku Black or Gogeta before. And as we already covered in the Gogeta video, I think he got a ton of amazing changes that makes him super fun and super scary. And I feel like Jiren got the same, although it's just in a different way. It seems like his identity is more of a let's react to stuff and let's call things out kind of way, not a I'm going to oppress you on offense kind of way. Anyway, if you made it all the way to the end of the video and you are enjoying this kind of content, please subscribe to the channel. I'm putting out a video for all the characters that got big changes in the 3.5 patch, and we cover a bunch of interesting stuff about Dragon Ball FighterZ here to help you improve at the game and just enjoy the game more overall. We've already covered Blue Jita, Gogeta, Master Roshi, Tien, and Piccolo since the 3.5 patch dropped, and we're going to be covering all of the other characters that got big changes in the next couple weeks too. And I'm also streaming on Twitch pretty regularly, so head on over there if you want to ask some more questions while I'm live. There's more on the way soon. Thanks for watching.